Before we get to your scheduled video, please remember that likes and comments tell YouTube to promote our work to other people, and subscribing to the channel tells you when something new drops. You can also head to the link tree in the description to peruse my books, join us on Discord, or support us on Patreon. You can get episodes of Journey of Wrestling and Violent Profiles early, as well as a load of other treats. Even just $1 a month earns you a name drop for being cool. Thanks for listening, and enjoy the show. Greetings and salutations, fellow broke folk. It is I, Eric J. Chucky, joined as always by the boy.
Hey.
This is the Two Nerds Podcast, and today we're talking about... You nodded.
You said a real good joke.
Thank
I'm
you.
just going to let it roll.
I just was really concerned that I'd said the wrong name of the podcast. Anyway, we're talking about the Marvels, in case you couldn't... Like, I say that every time, and like I should, right?
Because maybe we're in a playlist.
Sure.
You know, there's a Two Nerds Podcast playlist. You might be... Two Nerds Podcast playlist. I like that. You might be listening to that. We're on the podcast feed in YouTube. They might just be letting it roll. You don't know. So intro.
But, like, it just feels stupid.
It does feel stupid. You know why? Because it's on the thumbnail. But we're doing it anyway.
And the title and the... I stopped putting logos on the thumbnail a while ago. I noticed that when I did one for an upcoming podcast that isn't this one. Cats are in the background, pro wrestling. It is what it is. Managed to stave off the bees for a little while. I don't know how long that's going to last. The return of the bees is coming soon. If you don't know what I'm talking about, yeah. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just watch all of our podcasts from winter of last year and the early this year, and we definitely explain it.
During one of them. Watch them all. Find out.
You like and comment on those too. I would really appreciate that.
Before we get into it, we gotta talk about who's cool.
Right now, I'm pretty cool.
Me too.
Yourself?
But we're not talking about temperature. We're talking about that ephemeral type of cool that comes only from $1 a month on Patreon.
It's in the link tree.
Those people who have purchased their licensed official status of being cool, realer than that place where you can buy land in Scotland that was a scam.
People still doing that shit.
You know what's a fun gag gift?
Yeah, it is.
So is Rob.
Okay.
A guy from Ohio.
All right.
Harmony.
Okay.
Passion Killer 711.
Yes.
Distrucity KTL.
I like that he has so many letters in his name.
It's a lot of letters, and it's a nice amount of letters.
It's good. I like it a lot.
So the Marvels.
The Marvels. I was saying something. I had a big point I was getting to, and you just took the wind right out of my sails.
We had to talk about who was cool. We had to.
They are really cool, to be fair. This movie isn't doing so good.
No, he's doing bad.
I think by the end of it, especially overseas stuff, it'll probably make its budget back, but it will just make its budget back.
Which is a problem, because you kind of need to double your budget to cover marketing.
Well, not as much of a problem, because part of the reason this movie didn't do well is because they weren't allowed to market it for the entire summer and autumn.
On account of the strike. That didn't help.
No.
There were other factors. You can tell on account of no one went and saw the movie.
I was talking with somebody who has seen most of the Marvel movies, and I mean like probably 85% of the Marvel movies. They even saw The Incredible Hulk, which I haven't seen that shit.
I can't even say I've seen 100% of the Marvel movies. I have not and will not watch The Incredible Hulk.
I mean, I might, but like... Also, I think you did, man.
No, I'm almost certain I didn't.
Okay.
Or if I have, I've forgotten it completely. And isn't that the same?
I don't know how to address that. Anyway. And they were not aware that this movie was coming out. Like, they didn't know it was a thing. So, you know, those of us who are terminally online are certainly aware of the release schedule of every Marvel property ever, but those who do not follow that path did not get the update.
Yeah, even if they love Marvel movies, even if they've seen basically all of them and love them and watch them like on a loop, some people only know about a Marvel movie when it shows up on the commercials and someone shows up on The Tonight Show and does a fun bit with Jimmy Fallon where they have to lip sync with their mouth full of fish or whatever dumb bullshit he's doing now.
I don't think he's on the show anymore.
Sure, maybe not. I don't know. But, so you couldn't do that. We had none of that. That's a problem. Another problem that cannot be overlooked is that people don't like Captain Marvel. I would argue for pretty good reasons.
She is a controversial figure, and not just because she possesses the boobs.
That's not a reason.
I mean, plenty of people are going to make up any reason not to see
That is definitely one of the reasons some people have.
Yeah. But it's... Even in comic books, she can be acerbic.
I will say, and I've said this before, I'm honestly a huge fan of the Captain Marvel movie, and she's been hit or miss in her other appearances in, like, Endgame and such. But this is my favorite version of Captain Marvel in anything.
She was finally allowed to emote and have a nice time and have a not as nice time.
Yeah, well, I mean, just generally, the MCU version is my favorite version of Captain Marvel because Carol in the comics is the worst person on Earth. So,
well, no, in that one, Iron Man was there.
That's fair. She is somehow worse. But in the MCU, I've actually, I haven't I didn't like the Captain Marvel movie as much. Partially because, as my friend here hit on years later, and I think is entirely accurate, it's more of a kid's movie than the other MCU movies are.
It was a theory I saw online, I don't remember where, and if you guys pay attention to our movie homework podcasts, I definitely picked it up from there. But, I mentioned it there, rather. I picked it up from my own podcast. That's like citing yourself as a source. Me, I'm an expert.
You both wrote and read the handbook.
Yes, I guess I did. But somebody mentioned it, and I sat down and rewatched the movie. Like, maybe that's the reason I didn't care for it.
To know, to assess,
and looking at it through the eyes of a young person, especially a young girl who's looking for somebody to look up to. Yeah, it hits, and all of the stuff that, as a mature viewer, I found undercomplicated or tropey or lame. Looking at it through the eyes of a child, I get it. That's what you want. We don't, by and large, watch children's movies. I think a couple of notable exceptions this year, like the Mario movie, but that was also a big nostalgia grab.
And to be fair, a lot of people would call the MCU in general kids' movies. I don't think that's true. I think they're family pictures mostly. But
I don't know, man. The Eternals, pretty good kids' movie.
Oof, yeah, maybe the movie I watched when I was a kid. Sorry, I was completely derailed by that.
That's all right. It was a really good joke. But I sympathize with you being completely derailed from the really good point you were about to make.
Oh, it's vengeance.
By a stupid aside your friend did.
This was vengeance, I see.
Yeah.
But all of that, I wanted to get all that out of the way because I wanted to point out that, like, Captain Marvel is a divisive figure. She's not super popular for some bad and some good reasons. It also didn't help. The other thing that probably didn't help was that the two other characters are relative unknowns. Now, that's not always a bad, right? Because the Guardians of the Galaxy, back in the day, nobody knew who any of them were. And that movie hit it out of the park. So none of these factors on their own, I feel, would have been enough to make this movie the pretty unambiguous flop that it is now.
Well, we're also, as a culture, suffering from Marvel fatigue. Evens me.
A few years ago, I would have said that's a cope, that's fake, that's just people who want to be cool saying that. But at this point, I don't know, man. That sounds like it might, it might be true.
And there's contributing factors to that as well. I mean, I don't know the timeline exactly, but the budget for the CGI and stuff that's happened after the pandemic hasn't been as good. It is my pet theory that part of the reason Kamala Khan's stretchy arms are now crystal hard light projections is because that looks better with mediocre... I mean, it's really good. I couldn't do it. But, like, industry speaking, mediocre CGI.
As opposed to stretchy powers, which are a bitch to not make look insanely creepy.
The other reason is they're bringing in the Fantastic Four, and you don't need two stretchy guys.
And the other reason is probably because they wanted to revamp her powers anyway.
Sure. Why not?
This
movie had a lot against it.
It had a lot against it. The reason I'm bringing all that up front is this movie didn't do well, and it is not this movie's fault.
There's another show that I've been watching lately. It's not bad. A lot of passion behind it. And that's a shame because there were some really good ideas here.
Yeah, I mean, basically, this movie's fun.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say it's the best Marvel movie. It's not even in the top third. I'm not gonna say it's it's fun. It's a fun movie targeted towards teenage girls mostly, pretty obviously. There's nothing wrong with that. Every movie needs to have a main target audience. Marvel usually goes for your big four quadrants, but it's perfectly fine to target a movie more specifically than that. I don't think that would have been a detriment to the movie were all those other factors not the case.
I don't think it's mostly a detriment to the movie. I mean, looking at the reviews, the people who saw it mostly thought it was pretty good.
It's a detriment financially, is what I meant.
Yeah. And being targeted toward teenage girls, like, it's obvious, but it's not like it's younger teens also, I would say. It's not like it's the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. It's not like it's this unplumbable thing that if you have a wiener and, you're full of the testosterones, you can't go to and enjoy. It's not full of, like, girlhood bonding stereotypes.
There's a few of those. Let's not lie to the audience.
There are, but it's not to the extreme that, some trailer I'd see or some movie we'd cover on Two Nerds Don't Go to the Movies would make me roll my eyes and go to sleep about.
Yeah, I mean, it's targeted, but it's still a Marvel movie.
It is. It's skewed more than targeted, I'd say.
And that's fine. I have no problem with that. And the movie's fun. The movie's a good time. All of the main actresses put in a good effort. This is the best Brie Larson has ever done as Captain Marvel. As you mentioned earlier, they finally let her act like a human being, which helps.
I love Iman Vellani. I didn't get to watch Ms. Marvel, the show, because of the terrible treatment of Yusuf Khan in the first episode. It hurt my heart, and I couldn't go forward.
That show is much more targeted towards, like, young. It's a very coming of age story targeted towards very young people. We old dudes are not the target audience for it anymore.
No.
And neither of us could watch it. She was mean to her dad in the first episode, and he was just trying to be nice, and it hurt both of our feelings, and we had to stop.
Entirely separately. This was not a collusion. It happened a week apart.
Yeah, we both independently watched it, didn't talk to each other, and this exact same thing happened. The show isn't for us. That's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Not everything has to be for me.
No.
I really like Kamala Khan as a character, so I was really happy she got a series, even if I didn't enjoy it so much.
And I really, this will really surprise you guys who've watched our tier lists. I really like Spectrum, a C-D list Marvel character.
Firmly D-list, I feel.
Yeah. I've really been looking forward to her actually making a full superhero debut.
Yeah, I loved her in WandaVision. She was great. I've always, from what I've seen of the series and of, like, the supplemental material, the actress that got to play Kamala Khan is really good. She really gets the vibe of the character.
Yeah.
So I was excited for this. And they both did really well. Spectrum was really cool, and Kamala was really fun and relatable and, like, your good comedy side character.
Well, and it's a funny thing you mentioned that, because that was a thought I had a lot during the movie. Spectrum, they don't call her Spectrum in the movie, but for one throwaway joke, it's Monica Rambeau.
They specifically make a joke about her not wanting a code name so that they can make other jokes of naming all of the 27 code names that character has had.
I just call her Spectrum because that's what I call her. But throughout the film, I am thinking, she's so cool.
She
is so cool.
She is consistently really cool the whole movie.
And not to get, like, into my personal BS too hard, but, like, I've had a problem finding characters that I'm like, wow, they're really cool. It's just part of the oeuvre. They're interesting or whatever. It's not, I don't get that jazz of, yeah, anymore. And, man, maybe I just need to watch more movies targeted toward teenagers because she's incredibly cool.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I will say, I really want to. A part of me wants to spend more time talking about how much I liked Captain Marvel in this, because it is such a big departure from how I usually feel about that character. She wasn't my favorite of the three main characters, but she was really fun and cool and good. And that's so different from how Captain Marvel usually is in everything she's in, ever since she stopped being Miss Marvel, that it's such a breath of fresh air. This is the thing I wanted the MCU to do. I love it when they take characters I do not like, notably like, say, Iron Man, and make them into characters I love. Like, say, Iron Man. So I wanted that. When they originally announced Captain Marvel, that's what I wanted. And I didn't get it. And I got it now, and I'm happy. I'm so jazzed about it.
I would also like to say that the villain, their interpretation of Dar-Ben, was pretty good. She felt very, like, realistic in a way.
They did a really good, relatable bad guy.
Relatable zealot bad guy, even.
Yeah, she's like a crazy asshole, zealot genocide person. And a part of you still goes, I mean, cool motive, but still murder. But cool motive, though.
Yeah, and her acting was really good. She had these moments of, like, of mania that weren't over the top, but they still rumbled. You know, she really wielded her power well. And I don't mean, like, her laser shooties, but just the fact that she was a powerful figure.
She carried herself in a powerful way. She exuded authority. And that's hard to do, even if you are a character who is ostensibly in charge in a thing. It's hard to come across as being in charge like that.
Yeah.
As being controlled, being a step ahead, being a good, strong antagonist force. She did a great job. I will say the plot of this movie is kind of thin.
Yeah, let's get into the meat of the compliment sandwich.
Yeah, that is kind of our bit here, isn't it?
Yeah, well, you know, you start high, you end high.
Yep.
And in the middle, you get further faster. I couldn't figure something out of that. This isn't like the smartest plot in the world. It's really, really basic. It's basically just a pulp space opera adventure by the frickin' numbers. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. I'd say it's a little bit better than the first Thor.
I would say, like,
comparable anyway.
Pulp space opera adventure, like,
nobody's got blonde eyebrows and
right
Dutch
down
angles.
to, like, reverse. They didn't have big sky beams, but they did have the whole plot revolves around reverse big sky beams. It's
the big sky suck.
They gave them the big sky suck. But it's not there's not a lot of nuance in the plot.
No, it's very predictable.
And that's not, again, it's not a bad thing.
Yeah, it's not like this was called the mystery of the Marvels.
But if you don't have that, you have to buoy things up elsewhere. What they did here was they used the time that they had from basically not having a whole lot going on with the plot. The villain's plan is ultimately real simple. Like, super weird and complex, and involves the word quantum a lot, because that's their new version of radiation. But, like...
I appreciate the renaming of the nega bands.
Yeah, same. I mean, like, that's a dumb name anyway. Like, I want to be mad because that's what they called it in the comic books, but that's not a good name. Quantum Bands is cooler.
It was good back in the day.
Quantum Bands is cooler.
The world is different now.
Like, they use that time to insert two things. One, good time for the three, because you have three protagonists really here, to interact with one another and have a dynamic. That's good. Also, goofy side bullshit that doesn't go anywhere. That's fun, but I don't know that it's good.
I don't care.
You like that it's fun and you don't care if it's good?
I just destroyed something to prove my point.
That's valid.
I don't... It's been a long time. words are failing me. Since I have gotten to enjoy a thing that was signposted to me, and over the hour and 45 minutes, within this hour and 45 minutes, over the time that they began signposting, and I went, no. And then a little bit later, no. And then we got there, and I went, yes! And it was delivered gloriously. It may be one of my favorite scenes in cinema. I'm still riding the high 24 hours later of...
This is a spoiler.
This is a spoiler. If this is you don't want to see the movie, that's fine. You can listen. But if you haven't seen this movie, I implore you.
Have the genuine reaction to this.
I know I'm like a stickler for that, but on this one, no, for real though. It's a whole army of kittens just eating people for their own good. Set to memories from cats. And this movie has some very emotional moments in it. I could hear other people in the theater, and thank you, other people, for being in the theater, sobbing. Like, not like in a ridiculous, over-the-top manner, but they were touched. And I, too, had tears in my eyes at that point from all of the laughter I did during this scene.
This scene and the song and dance number in the middle of this movie
Oh, my God, it was so perfect. It was so stupid, but it was so perfect.
Are the exact things I'm talking about.
Yeah.
They are goofy bullshit that enters the movie and leaves the movie and doesn't do anything.
Yeah, wasn't that fun, we say, as we move on to the actual plot. Wasn't that a good time?
And it was fun and a good time, but I do not know that it is not at the detriment of the overall quality of the movie.
I don't think I care. I don't think...
It is valid not to care. I understand that, but the fact remains.
There are people out there, the two cars meme, motherfuckers looking at the Irishman or whatever. I am patting the Marvels. That's great.
Fine,
Yeah.
but I like this.
It was a ride. Look, I saw a Ninja Turtles movie this year, and this is still one of the most fun movies I've seen this year.
And to be fair, the weird song and dance number out of nowhere is fun. Getting to see Brie Larson sing again on screen, that's been a long time. That was fun.
Yeah.
And the Flurkin scene where they all chase around people and eat them, that's fun. I hate that cat. I'm always gonna hate that cat.
I know, buddy.
I got beef with that cat.
I know. Hey, they recast
I hate
the
that.
cat.
I hate good. I hate that cat. I hate all his friends, kids, whatever. I hate them all. It took something very cool and precious to me, and they ruined it, and I'm never gonna forgive them for it. But even then, I thought that was funny.
It was kind of humorous to me. As I mentioned, they did recast the cat. I noticed.
Well, I mean,
what a weird thing for me to have noticed.
It's been several years. Not to be a downer, that other cat's probably not working anymore.
Well, there were a couple of them, but I mean, yeah, it's probably an older cat by now if it's not gone from this mortal coil. I just can't believe I noticed in theater, looking at it and going, that's a different cat. It's still an orange cat.
Dude, cats look different. That's not weird.
Yeah, I know, but like, why of all things? Look, I know, I like cats or whatever.
You're very tuned in with animals.
I guess.
Yeah, but even though I have known beef with that stupid cat, that was a funny scene. That was a funny scene that they spent so much of the movie's real estate building to, by the way, that they did not need to. It was a whole B plot that existed solely to end on that.
And I feel like that was a good choice.
Valid.
You know what? Look, I've bent a little bit on the old Last Jedi. Was that the movie with the cul-de-sac?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've bent a little bit on that being, maybe not super necessary and important. I still think it has important features, but, I'm willing to give... No, this was critical. If this had only been the movie, I think that's fine. Especially because Samuel L. Jackson did 90% of his acting sitting down and had most of the best lines in the film. You could tell he was having a phenomenal time. Like, imagine being him acting in Secret Invasion and this.
Sam Jackson was clearly having such a better time in this than in Secret Invasion. It looks like Nick Fury just hates Earth. And he just wants to be in space. Space is so much cooler and better, and all his friends are there. And his dumb, stupid Earth, where he has to be an important guy with an eye patch that everyone's scared of, is dumb. He wants to go up in space where his friend Carol is, who treats him like a normal guy.
Yeah, this was a really fun movie. I think it would be good to take your teenager to, or even your young adult if you're okay with the word shit. Man, there's been a lot of talk lately among my peoples about how swear words that were super taboo when we were younger are not anymore, and this movie was indicative of that.
Yep, shit made several appearances.
Yes, it sure did.
That doesn't count anymore.
It doesn't, and that's okay.
We've had our first F-bomb in an MCU movie, okay? We are across the Rubicon.
I still think Rocket should have had it.
He should be allowed to also have it, but that bit was funny.
It was alright. I think if I was there, like when they were recording it, I think I would have been good, but I wasn't. I saw it in a movie. But what else is there to say before we get to the real spoiler? My eyes suck. How are we doing on time?
We're about done.
All right, then. So, is there anything else you want to wrap up before we get into it?
I'm just trying to think if there's anything that's super important. I love that they did the Ms. Marvel intro from the one episode of Ms. Marvel I saw.
I really
liked that.
I love the graphics in that show and the way they treated it, and I'm glad we got a little bit of that here. Good thing to bring up. And I wanted to say too that this movie is so colorful. It's nice.
Yeah, it's bright. It's saturated. Colorful things are happening. It's not blue. It's not green. It's just properly keyed.
Especially having just sat through Loki, which was it was important.
Loki is orange.
It was the aesthetic.
It's a very orange show.
Well, it's muted. Whatever it is, whether it's orange or green, it's very 1960s muted decorative colors. It may be early 70s. Before we got to the triumvirate of ochre, olive, and orange. It is really desaturated, and that's fine, but
it's the vibe.
It helped make this movie more fun.
Because it popped.
Yeah. And the choreography was pretty good, too. They weren't the best fights I've ever seen, but, man, there was no shaky cam. I was allowed to just watch some people hit people.
Yeah, that's always nice.
And they did some really cool shit with the switching.
Yeah, they did interesting things with the central conceit of the movie, of the switching that brings the people together. Now that we've given Captain Marvel and all her friends their dues, their flowers...
May I say one more thing?
Okay.
This is the shortest MCU movie, and I thank it for that.
Yeah, there's no... there are things they decided to put in the movie that don't go anywhere. But they're not fat. They're things that they sacrificed what could have been complications in the plot to have. There is no fat on this movie.
I would, in fact, love to see some of the deleted scenes, and I don't remember the last time I've done that for a Marvel movie, just because I'm sure there's some good stuff they decided to cut. Because this is a tight hour and 45.
That's good. You know what? Not everything's got to be 3 hours. There did not need to be a 3-hour cut of the Marvels. This is the right time frame for this.
And that's something they're learning, that not everything has to be 6 hours for that matter. They have said, as part of their whole financial restructuring thing, we need to stop making TV shows and make movies again. That's why Rhodey's movie is going to be a movie and not a series.
Because it was a movie, and then it was a series, and now it's back to a movie?
It's back to being a movie, as far as I'm aware.
I love the series. That's dumb. Make more series.
Well, make series, but make series for a reason.
Yeah, make series if you have the material for it.
Because how many times have we watched a series and reviewed it on the show and gone, this could have been a movie? Maybe 2. But still, could have just been a movie.
That's fair. But Loki couldn't have been a movie. You need that time. If it should be a series, I would say embrace having the project be the thing it needs to be. Don't try and overly stretch it, and don't try and compress. Some things, some stories take different amounts of time to tell, and that's okay.
Yeah. Don't try to force a square peg into a round hole.
This movie this story took 1 hour and 45 minutes to tell. Flirkin' frenzy and all.
All right, now you may.
Now that we've given them, all of their dues and flowers and such, let's talk about the thing I'm really excited for. So at the end of the movie...
I can't think of a joke fast enough.
The end of the movie, the very end, the biggest spoiler, the climax. Are you ready? Due to the events of the movie, Monica Rambeau ends up in a parallel universe. They don't use the term alternate timeline or anything else. They specifically use the term parallel universe. Something more akin to the stuff they talked about in like the most recent Doctor Strange movie. She is knocked out. She comes to in the post-credits scene. And her mother, who has died, she died a while ago.
I think we found that out in WandaVision.
Yeah, so that was like how they introduced the character, the adult version of Monica. Her mother is there, and she's like, oh, so excited to see her, but her mother doesn't know who she is. And then fucking Beast walks in and calls her binary. That's right, she's in the fucking X-Men universe, and Beast looks so cool, and he's Kelsey Grammer. My voice cracked, I'm so hype.
I love that they paid off the tease they did at the end of the Ms. Marvel series. Because even if I didn't watch it, I read about it. There was a period I read over and my mind went... Brrr, but then I came back. And the tease about her being a mutant, very cool. And seeing it applied, seeing that post-credit scene, what a thrill.
We're starting.
Yeah.
We're starting the great
here.
Integration of the X-Men. They can finally come home.
Also, a little tidbit I read, the actress who plays Monica's mom, whose name escapes me.
And now Binary.
Is in fact younger than the actress who plays Monica.
Which is great.
Yeah, works out in that way.
Yeah.
I've got their names up here. I could have just said it, but yeah, that requires turning my head. You know who they are. You have Wikipedia. Look at her. She's right there. She's amazing.
But in the style of Marvel post-credit scenes, that means the next thing we might see Monica Rambeau in is an actual MCU fucking X-Men movie. I want that so much.
It's been a while since I've been with the X-Men at length. And we're going to get the 90s series, the cartoon first, I think.
Yeah, they're getting the reboot of the 90s series or continuation. I forget which it is.
Continuation.
And we're getting the next Deadpool movie, which involves an X-Man pretty heavily.
Deadpool.
And another one.
I don't think Deadpool's ever officially been an X-Man. Much like Spider-Man being in the Avengers,
He's been an X-Force.
always a bridesmaid is Deadpool.
Been an X-Statics, I think.
No.
He's been in the Great Lakes Avengers, and that's pretty.
Yes, he has. That's worth mentioning. It's funny that the least money-making Marvel movie, the probably least good one
in a while.
Yeah, since Black Widow, I'd say. Is the one that makes me the most excited for what's to come.
Yeah, this didn't do well. This didn't succeed financially, but it succeeded in the Two Nerds household because the vibe is back.
And there's still time, guys. Get to the theaters if you're at all interested by this. Watch the movie. It's really good. They put a lot of heart and soul into it. Do it for Iman. She deserves it.
She does.